There are moments in sports when time seems to slow and the noise of the crowd, the flashing lights, the thousands of cameras all fade into the background. What's left is the raw, undeniable pulse of something real. The Minnesota Timberwolves found themselves in one of those moments on a night that will be remembered by their franchise, their fans, and most importantly, by the man who made it his mission to make the world remember, Anthony Edwards. It all started on a night when the city of Los Angeles was brimming with anticipation. Crypto.com Arena was packed. The fans were electric, donning purple and gold, chanting, hoping, believing that their Lakers could pull off a comeback. After all, they were the Lakers. A team of legacy. A team of rings and banners and stories that span decades. On the court stood LeBron James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer. Alongside him, a supporting cast filled with stars, veterans, and those who wore the weight of the Lakers jersey like armor. But none of that mattered. Because standing in the opposing tunnel was a 23-year-old phenom who didn't care about history. He wasn't moved by the weight of legacy. Anthony Edwards was there to write his own story. And as fate would have it, this night would be his. When the final buzzer echoed through the arena, the scoreboard read 103-96. Timberwolves had done it. They had closed out the series, knocking out the Lakers in just 5 games. A series that many predicted would be an easy victory for Los Angeles was now a bitter memory, a cold ending to what fans had hoped would be a deep playoff run. As the Wolves poured onto the court in celebration, Anthony Edwards took a different route. He didn't immediately go back to the locker room. He didn't sprint down the tunnel to pop champagne. No, he walked out the front door, literally. He stepped outside the very arena where he had just crushed the dreams of millions of Lakers fans and strolled into the streets of Los Angeles like a man possessed. He wasn't just celebrating. He was delivering a message. How y'all gonna be F***ing with me? I just sent y'all an ****** home. He yelled into the night, his voice cutting through the stunned silence of the Lakers faithful. The fans who had once cheered with confidence were now silent. Some looked on in disbelief. Others just stared. The energy had shifted. The streets outside Crypto.com Arena, usually filled with celebratory chaos after a Lakers win, now carried a different tone, one of shock, of bitterness, and beneath it all, a growing sense of respect for the young man who had just stolen the show. This wasn't just trash talk. This was theatrical. It was poetic. Edwards was delivering a performance worthy of a movie, and he knew it. He leaned into the role, fully aware that the cameras were rolling, the social media feeds were refreshing by the second, and his words would echo far beyond this single night. They said, "Lakers in 5, he continued, referring to the viral prediction that had dominated conversations before the series began. And when we was up 3-1, they said, "Lakers in 7. Go to hell today." The line hit like a punch to the gut, especially for the fans who had clung to those exact hopes. It wasn't just about the win anymore, it was about revenge. About proving the world wrong. About standing in front of the doubters, the analysts, the talking heads on sports shows who never gave the Timberwolves a shot, and telling them exactly where they could shove their predictions. Then came the line that would be repeated across timelines, quoted in memes, and turned into GIFs within minutes. "Good guys don't die in this movie. Morris Chestnut died in this movie." It was hilarious, unexpected, and weirdly profound. Edwards wasn't just clowning the Lakers. He was framing the entire playoff narrative like a cinematic masterpiece, one where he and his teammates were the unlikely protagonists who weren't going to fall to the villain at the end. No, this was a new story. And in this one, the underdog wins. What made this moment even more powerful was that it wasn't scripted. It wasn't manufactured. Edwards wasn't following some PR game plan. This was him, raw, unfiltered, charismatic, and completely himself. It's what made the entire sports world stop and pay attention. 'Cause beyond the highlight reels and box scores, this was the moment everyone realized Anthony Edwards wasn't just a great player. He was a star in every sense of the word. Back in the digital world, the Timberwolves social media team was having the time of their lives. They created a montage that played like the closing credits to a classic film. featured every tweet, every hot take, every Lakers in 5 comment that had aged like spoiled milk. It was glorious. But they didn't stop there. They turned the lens toward LeBron himself, using a clip from his Netflix series The Starting Five, where he confidently stated that no one was better suited for the moment than he was. The screen then cut to Anthony Edwards standing tall, a perfect visual passing of the torch, whether the world was ready for it or not. This wasn't just petty revenge. This was history. 'Cause the Timberwolves, a team often overlooked in the grand NBA landscape, were suddenly front and center. And not because they were just winning, but because they were doing it with personality, with swagger, with unapologetic fire that made even casual fans take notice. LeBron James, the man who's been the face of the NBA for 2 decades, had just been sent home in the first round. Luka Doncic, another supposed heir to the throne, had also been eliminated. The league was being shaken up in real time, and the epicenter of that quake was Anthony Edwards. But to understand the weight of this moment, you have to understand where Edwards came from. You have to know the kind of player and person he is. Growing up in Atlanta, he was a prodigy from the start, but his journey wasn't paved with red carpets. It was filled with challenges, with setbacks, with the kind of losses that shape a man before he ever steps onto a professional court. He lost his mother to cancer at the age of 14. A year later, he lost his grandmother. Those 2 women raised him. They were his world. And suddenly they were gone. It would have broken most kids. But Edwards channeled that pain into something else. Into motivation. Into drive. Into a refusal to let their loss be in vain. He carried them with him into every practice, every game, every moment when quitting might have been easier. By the time he arrived in the NBA, it was clear he had talent. But what made him different was the spirit. That fire. That ability to rise in the biggest moments, not just to compete, but to take over. And that's exactly what he did in this series. Game after game, Edwards elevated. He didn't just score, he imposed his will. He didn't shy away from the moment, he became the moment. He finished the series averaging over 31 points per game on better-than-efficient shooting, all while guarding some of the toughest assignments on the floor. When the Lakers adjusted, he adjusted back. When they threw double teams, he split them. When the crowd tried to rattle him, he smiled. And that smile, that trademark Anthony Edwards grin, it became its own kind of weapon. It was disarming. It said, "You can try to stop me, but I already know how this ends." He was having fun. Not because it was easy, but because he had earned every inch of that court. Every bucket, every win, every ounce of respect. And make no mistake, this was a changing of the guard. LeBron is still great. No one is taking that away from him. But greatness evolves, doesn't stand still. And on this night in the heart of Los Angeles, a new name echoed through the basketball world louder than any other. Anthony Edwards. Timberwolves, once the butt of jokes, a team known more for lottery picks than playoff wins, were now a force to be reckoned with. And it wasn't just because they beat the Lakers. It was because they believed. 'Cause they had heart. 'Cause they had Anthony leading them into battle like a man who knew destiny was on his side. Now, with the series behind them, the team awaits the results of another clash in the Western Conference. The Golden State Warriors, seasoned and dangerous, are looking to finish off the Rockets in Game 6. Whoever wins will have to face a Minnesota squad that's more than just a Cinderella story. They're a team on a mission. They've tasted victory. They've slayed giants. And they're not satisfied. Edwards and his teammates aren't just chasing wins, they're chasing legacy. And while the road ahead won't be easy, one thing is clear: they're not afraid of anyone. Not the Warriors. Not the Rockets. Not the doubters. Not the lights. Because when Anthony Edwards stepped into the streets of LA and claimed that victory like a man possessed, he wasn't just celebrating a series win. He was announcing his arrival.